Imagine this scenario. You are hanging out with a new friend from Germany or the United States. You want to be nice, so you ask them a very common Malaysian question. Hey, have you eaten yet? Or how much is your salary? Suddenly, the room goes cold. Your friend looks uncomfortable and the conversation just dies right there. You feel confused because you were just trying to be friendly. What you did not realize is that while you both speak perfect English, you are operating on completely different rules of what is polite and what is private. This is what we call the linguistic trap. Knowing the language is never enough if you do not understand the culture behind it. Assalamualaikum and a very good day to my lecturer and my fellow friends. I am Muhammad Shami Haziq from the Academy of Language Studies, UITM Shah Alam. As a student majoring in English intercultural communication, I've spent a lot of time looking into why people misunderstand each other even when they use the same language. So, my speech today is based on the famous cultural iceberg theory by Edward T. Hall, and also my own observations of how we interact every single day in our daily life. Today, I want to share with you why simply speaking English is just the surface of the communication. I will break down my speech into two expanded points. First, we will look at the heavy effects of deep culture on our daily behavior. And second, how we can build cultural intelligence to solve this issue. Let us begin with the first main point, which is how deep culture controls our interactions without us even knowing it. So, when we talk about culture, most people only think about things we can see, like traditional food, clothes, and festivals. But according to Edward T. Hall, that is only 10% of culture. The other 90% is hidden underwater, which he calls deep culture. This includes things like our concept of time, our body language, and how we treat the authority. To expand on this, let's look at the effect of ignoring these hidden rules. If you ignore deep culture, you will accidentally look rude or offensive. For example, think about the concept of time. In Malaysia, we have this thing called Janji Melayu, where being late is almost normal. But if you do this business with someone from Germany or Japan, being 5 minutes late can destroy your professional relationship instantly. Because to them, time is a sign of respect. Another huge effect is how we use direct or indirect communication. Westerners love to be direct. If they do not like your idea, they will say no. But in Asian culture, we prefer to save face and protect feelings. So we say, I'll think about it, instead of a harsh no. If you do not understand this effect, you will think the Asian person is lying, while the Asian person will think the Western is quite aggressive. This is how ignoring deep culture damages teamwork, breaks friendships, causes massive misunderstandings in the real world. Now that we understand how dangerous it is to ignore deep culture, let us move on to the solution, which is expanding our cultural intelligence, or CQ. Some people think that to fix this problem, we just need to memorize every single culture in the world. But let's be real here. That is almost impossible and exhausting. Instead, the real solution is developing our CQ, which is your ability to adapt to new cultural settings. CQ is much better than just having a high IQ because it can actually be trained and improved over time. To expand on how we can practice this, there are two simple steps we can take every day. So, the first step is checking our motivation, or what we call CQ drive. You must genuinely want to learn about others without judging them instantly. When you see someone from another country doing something weird, do not say that is wrong. Instead, say that is actually quite interesting. Let me find out why they do that. The second step is changing our action. This means you adjust your communication style based on who you are talking to. For instance, when you speak with someone from a high context culture like Japan, you learn to look at their body language and listen what they do not say. On the other hand, when talking to an American, you learn to be clear and direct by actively practicing these steps. We stop making assumptions and start building real connections. So here, my observation among university students shows that those who practice CQ are much more successful in group projects and in international activities because they know how to handle differences without conflict. So, in conclusion, the linguistic trap is a real issue that we cannot ignore any longer. Today, we have looked at how deep culture heavily affects our behavior and why knowing English grammar alone cannot save us from social mistakes. We have also discussed how building cultural intelligence, which is CQ, through curiosity and behavioral change can help us cross these cultural walls. As we live in a world where everyone is connected, we must remember that language is just the tool, but the culture is the rule. We need to stop assuming that everyone thinks exactly like us just because they can speak the same language as us. I am Muhammad Shami Hazik. Let us stop looking only at the surface of the iceberg and start diving deeper into understanding each other. Thank you very much for listening to my speech.